Okay, I think we are ready to go. All right. So, if you're watching the replay of this, welcome. If you're watching the video, wherever you are, hoping you're having a wonderful day, evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're at. So, welcome and thanks for watching. And today, we're continuing our journey into the Kybalion. And if you had watched the previous video, then you don't need to know what the Kybalion is. But if not, we're going to do just a super quick reprise. I'm just looking at my cards here. Did I? I guess I somehow passed them up. I'm just actually going through and looking for a certain tarot card at the moment, which I should have did already, of course, but I don't know. He's hiding from me right now. So I'm sure he'll show up eventually. Oh, there he is. Okay. So welcome. If you're watching the replay of this, I definitely hope that you are well and happy and everything, all the things. So if you haven't watched this previously, if you didn't do the last videos, we're talking about the Kybalion, which is an old turn of the 20th century, so very beginning of the 20th century, basically considered an occult text. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I used to have a paper version of this, but I don't anymore. I lost it. It has left me, so now I had to get my online Kindle version. So this is basically an old book that came out in 1908, and it was written by someone who claimed to be the three initiates. So it sounds like three people. However, it's likely that they figured out who actually did write it, a New Thought philosopher whose name currently escapes me at the moment. But this book basically is an occult text meant to teach occult secrets on how to pretty much the nature of reality and how to navigate the nature of reality. And these were supposedly taught by a leader, an occult, someone who's rich in occult wisdom named Hermes Trismegistus, which is that. The great and master of masters. So I love these old traditions, these old occult books and texts and literatures. Often they are really, they will tell the story of a certain scholar or a leader or someone who's come and has a lot to offer. And it's of course up to you whether whether or not you actually believe that or you choose to follow that. I feel like when we get to certain people and following certain individuals, you do get into more of a religion aspect and religious sort of teachings. And it's all, it's individual, how you feel about that. For a lot of people, religion is absolutely healing and provides a lot of structure. For other people, it starts to get a little cultish. So I understand, and I'm not someone who really is indoctrinated in Hermetic philosophy per se at all, but I found, like many, if not all religious texts, there's a great deal of wisdom in it and a great deal of power once we get the religious, rituals stuckness kind of out the way. So that is the Kybalion in a nutshell. And yes, last time we did the principle of mentalism. And that stated that the all is mind, that the nature of the universe is mental, which I pretty much have come to the conclusion as far as what does that mean for us in the 21st century. So we talked about how everything is mental, including your problems. Whenever problems you have, where it came through the mental creation of someone or something, because the universe itself is deemed to be mental. That also is saying that pretty much everything around us has either been created or is a projection of the mind of the universe, or a projection of the mind of people or something else. So therefore, if the problem is mental, the solution is mental. And that was kind of how we went about that. So today we're actually talking about the law of correspondence. So this is number 2. So what is the law of correspondence? So I'm going to read a little bit from just the blurb in the Kybalion, the principle of correspondence. As above, so below, as below, so above. This principle embodies the truth that there's always a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes and being of life. The old Hermetic axiom ran in these words: as above, so below, as below, so above. And the grasping of this principle gives one the means of solving many a dark paradox and hidden secret of nature. Okay, and a little blurb comes at the very end of this, which says, studying the monad, he understands the archangel, talking about man. Okay, so basically it's talking about the connection between things that are very big and unknowable and something that's very, very small and potentially able to be studied. So what, pray tell, is this all about? So one thing I have to say is, if this all interests you, definitely pick up a copy of the Kybalion. Okay, I feel like there's material in this little book that will keep you thinking for days, if not years, still thinking about things, still processing things. It's a lot. It's very dense, and there's a lot to process. So definitely. So we're not going to go into all the things right now. Okay, but I wanted to read a little bit more, and then I'm going to talk about my take of what the law of correspondence is about, and also what that means for us. It's like, so what does it mean? Okay. So in the chapter on correspondence, it reads, the great second Hermetic principle, which is the law of correspondence, embodies the truth there's a harmony, agreement, and correspondence between the several planes of manifestation, life, and being. So in the Kybalion, basically it says that there are 3 major planes in our existence: the physical plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane. And it goes on to kind of divide each of those planes into like subplanes. So it's a whole sort of thing that definitely I encourage you to go into if you're at all curious about any of this stuff. But it says, again, 3 planes: physical, mental, spiritual, and that there actually is a hierarchy. Spiritual plane is the highest plane, the most powerful plane at the top. Beneath that is the mental plane, and beneath that is the physical plane. So what this also tells us, besides having 3 planes, is that the text says there is a harmony, agreement, or correspondence between the planes. So what does that mean? So what is it? Whenever we think of correspondence, we tend to think of, to me, I think of communication. Like when you correspond with someone, you are communicating with them. Correspondence is often a term that's used for like, emailing or letter writing, basically communicating with people. So that is basically what that's about. And the fact that it states that there's a harmony agreement or a correspondence between all these planes means that they communicate with each other. They communicate with each other, which also means that they can influence each other. Now, it gives us a key when it gives us a hierarchy of the 3 planes. So we have the spiritual at the top, the mental in the middle, and the physical at the bottom. So if we're asking what can really influence the others while it corresponds, it would have to be from the top down. So the spiritual can influence through communication what lies beneath it, and the mental can also do what lies beneath it, but you can't influence the up from the bottom. So the physical can't influence the mental or the spiritual, but the spiritual can influence the physical and the mental and the physical. And all of these are all in communication or in correspondence with each other. Okay, so to influence what I get, what does that mean for us? One thing is, if what I get from this is, if to influence our physical world and what's actually around us, we need to go to the spiritual realm and the mental realm to readjust the physical. So that is the key that I drew from the law of correspondence, the principle of correspondence. So what does that look like? So I actually have a tome here. It's quite a large book. And this is the complete book of correspondences by Llewellyn. So if you're not familiar with Llewellyn, if you are at all into like metaphysical stuff, you probably are very familiar with them, especially if you're into the more woo-wooer of metaphysical, which is like witchcraft and spellcraft and all that stuff. I love all of it, from the scientific aspect of the metaphysical, more towards learning to use our brains in a more scientific capacity, to the just spellcraft and magic and all that stuff fascinates me. So I definitely have a library of all sorts of books. And this is all about correspondences, which means basically energy, intention, matter, and how they connect and how all the connections to them. Now, of course, it is all, pretty subjective, I guess. It's all about what you believe. But there are definitely some correspondences and connections that have been pretty solidified through practice, through people. But what this does, and here's a little example of correspondence. I don't know if you can see this, but these are correspondences for the energy of love. So what this means is, if you are looking to influence the energy of love in your life and see it manifest in your life or create your life, then there are certain colors, there are certain times, such as days of the week, seasons, there are certain gemstones, there are certain elements, there are certain directions, as far as like the directions of around us. There are certain plants that actually are correspondent to the energy of love. So the whole underpinning of magic and different spellcraft, sort of thing like that, is built on the law of correspondence, which basically says, as above, so below. As I'm working with these things that are below, I want to influence something that is greater, that is harder for me to actually get my hands on, which it can be something very abstract, such as love, for example, is one of them. Okay, so that kind of shows you how that is. So, for example, if you wanted to bring love potentially and bring it in, you would actually work with one of these things and use that to kind of be able to bring in your spiritual capacity. So you can use physical things, which these are all kind of sort of physical things. You have gemstones, elements, but now what would you use as far as a mental correspondent for love? So how I would view that is, you would actually want to fill your thoughts with the energy of what love means to you. And that would be a very personal thing. So in filling your thoughts to bring more love, what would having loving and love thoughts look like to you? Okay, so it can be thoughts of kindness, thoughts of mercy, thoughts of connection, thoughts of gentleness, of peace, thoughts of just being willing to connect and being open to other people. Those sort of thoughts would be love thoughts that would actually potentially bring it into the mental plane. Okay, so I really like this book. Is so interesting. Even if you're not like a spell person, like I don't really do spells at all. I definitely am a huge believer in moving energy, but I don't really do that. But this is just fascinating. Like, it's absolutely fascinating. All of these different lists of things and places and days and seasons and what they mean. And it's really, really cool. And especially being a tarot consultant, I see a lot of that stuff connected there as well. Okay. So basically using the planes that are lower to be able to connect to something that's harder to get, a little bit abstract, is really, to me, what the law of the correspondence is all about. If you want something, you need to align it in your spirit, align to that in your mind, align to that in your actions as best as you can in order to unleash that and be able to bring that energy into your life. And number two, what I think is the biggest real 21st century lesson from all of this, from what the law of correspondence brings, is what you want that is outside of yourself is also found within yourself. That everything that you seek, that you're aiming for, that you're chasing down, that you want, that you got to get your hands on, is found inside yourself. Whether that's love, more money, more income, more power, more prestige, more beauty, everything that we are often chasing after is found within ourselves. So whenever we want something, it actually tells us to look inside. And I don't know if you've ever seen, there's actually a movie called As Above, So Below. It's a found footage scary movie. And it, to me, I totally didn't expect it to have any real meat to it. But it was one of those movies that really, really surprised me with its metaphysical message. I just was like, wow, that was actually really, really, really good. And it kind of hit the nail on the head. I kind of don't want to spoil it, but as the title implies, it actually hit that axiom like right on the head, like exactly what it's about by the end. And I just was really kind of impressed by that. But it is just a reminder that what you seek outside of yourself can be found within, and to look within. And what you think is so great and vast and above you and powerful and touchable is also there down low and accessible to you. So the card that I most associated to this, I also like to mention, is the Magician card in the tarot. Literally, it's very taking what's above and channeling it down, but being that it's supposed to associate with magic and the wielding of magic and whatnot too. All right, so I hope that was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed it, and that you find that you are more aware of using the law of correspondence in your life to turn things around and get your results, because it is an absolutely powerful truth. And it is, and one thing, knowing it is one thing, but actually practicing it in our lives, of course, is something totally different. So it can be tough to remember these things, but I think it's so important to really bring about things in your life, that whenever you want something, align to it spiritually. All right. Align to it with your self-identity, align to it through your thinking and your mind. Because after all, law number one, the law of mentalism, all is mental. The entire universe is mental in nature. So aligning your mind and aligning your actions is super important. And remember, what you seek outside of yourself is actually already inside. So it's important to focus in and be able to work from there. All right. So thank you so much. And we'll see you next time when we do the next law, which I think might be vibration. Let us see. Yeah, vibration. All right. And it's interesting because we'll start to see how these kind of work together and make a really interesting web. So we will see you next time, wherever you're at. So be safe, be well, be blessed, be happy, and remember, to change your life, you must first change yourself. And be well. Thank you very much. Bye.